house this morning.
Amen.
Amen. You guys are a blessing to my life, and I hope that this message will be a blessing to you today. As some of you might know, we're ministering on a particular subject this month, and we're talking about the emotions that we embrace and the emotions that we fight. So our series is titled "The Fight of My Life: Emotions that we embrace and emotions that we fight." So I want to talk to you today about some emotions to embrace and about some to fight. But today, generally, I'm talking about anxiety. Everyone say anxiety?
Anxiety.
Before I get started, I want to just give a little introduction before the introduction. As I speak about the topic of anxiety, I want no one in any way to take from what I'm saying that I'm minimizing anxiety. Anxiety is a real disorder, and I think that within the heart of every human, within the emotions, the mind of every human, that we all have a level of anxiety. Anybody ever felt anxiety about something, right? You know, sweaty palms, nervousness, elevated heart rate. All of these things are symptoms of anxiety, and it doesn't. It's a human condition, is what I really want to say. But I want to emphasize more on the spiritual component that's related to anxiety disorders. So everyone see where I'm coming from with this? Anxiety, so on the minimal scale, it could be exactly what I just described. It might be like the nervous energy of sweaty palms. It could be, just the nervousness of I don't know, for men, sometimes when men are going through anxiety, or when they're talking and they're dealing with anxiety, it could be a crack in the voice. It could be, for women, it could be the same thing, fluctuation in the voice. It could be the elevation of the heart rate. How many when you're feeling anxiety, when you're under pressure, you sweat? Anybody sweat? Right? So you're just under, intense internal pressure. So the way that the body deals with that is it releases it through your glands and through your sweat, and you release these toxins that are built up in the body, that are manifest in the brain and in the mind, and the emotion is fed. So we have all of these emotions that are rising within us, and all these chemicals that are happening within us. And before we know it, you can be in a full-blown anxiety attack, right? So anxiety, not everyone's experienced an anxiety attack. Not everyone's experienced that. Some people have just experienced mild anxiety within their life. But I just want to start off with a little story of my life. I think the first real anxiety attack that I had within my life, to where I had no security blanket. I was driving home from school, and it was driving home from North Texas all the way to Phoenix. It's like a 19-hour drive, and I think I was maybe 18, 19 years old at the time. Driving home, it had been a long drive, and I think that because not only I mentioned it was a long drive, we had just had finals that week. I remember coming back, it was always like we had to pack everything up and bring it back home. I was saying goodbye to friends, and was kind of getting reintroduced to my life back here. So in the process of that, driving home, I experienced an anxiety attack. Now, some of you have experienced anxiety attacks, and I don't want you to raise your hand, but if you've experienced one, you identify with what I'm talking about. It felt like 20 men were standing on my chest. And I started to get like a tingling feeling in my fingers and in my toes. And it's like I felt like blacking out. As I think about that moment, now this was, over 20 years ago. But I still, in talking about it, I start to feel the symptoms of it. I start to feel like how I just broke out sweating. And at the time, I was in the process of driving home. And I got this far. I think that it lasted me from New Mexico all the way to Arizona. And I thought it was something that I was just like, okay, you're just tired. So I rolled all the windows down, and I couldn't shake it off of me. I stopped the car, and I walked around the car. I did some exercise. I said, okay, this must be something. I just must be tired. And then I stopped for a coffee. I was like, it's okay. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to get a coffee because that coffee, it'll help to jolt and to reset my nervous system so I could just stop feeling this way. And you know, at that time, my young mind, everything was strength and weakness. So I'm down on myself. I'm calling myself a punk. I'm calling myself weak. Like, what are you doing? Come on. Get right. You know, I'm just trying to like slap myself. You know, I just wanted to get myself out of that state. And I didn't know how to do it. And before I knew it, I got back in the vehicle and I was crying uncontrollably. I couldn't shake this anxiety attack. Back then, I didn't know of it in terms like that. So I just felt like I was having a breakdown. And see, the language of like a breakdown in my ear, what it meant was like you're going crazy. And there was a lot of stuff at that point in my life. A lot of emotions, a lot of things that I had lost in my life that there was no answers to. And I was just becoming an adult, and I felt like that, you know, I'm a man now I have control of my life. Now the things that used to torture me do not have to torture me, but here comes this anxiety attack. So the long and the short of it is I stopped into an emergency room. I got right into Tucson, and I don't remember the hospital, but I stopped in the emergency room, and I explained what was happening, and they told me, it was like, yeah, you know, this is a panic attack. I was like, well, they said, what's going on within your life? And I was like, oh, nothing. And they were like, well, they took my weight, it's cool. Everything seems to be fine with you physically, but like, is there something that's on your mind? At that time, I wasn't at peace with my emotions. So what did I do to get out of the situation? I just lied. No, nothing's wrong with me. I'm coming back home, and I got good life and people that love me, but I was running away from what was inside. And I remember I told you about those private prisons that we live in. I was living in this private prison of all of this stuff that had gone on in my life, that people ignored. People told me to get over it and to think about something else and to don't worry about it. There was a time in my life that I dealt with where this physical form was not going to take it anymore. There was no amount of praying or anointing oil. None of that was going to work. That I had to face what was causing me to struggle with this anxiety. So let us pray. Father, in Jesus' name, I pray, God, that you would help me to be able to give this word in a humble and in a transparent way to where someone would receive some help today, God. I pray, God, for the person who has struggled as I struggled and has always been minimized and is told to get over it, God. I pray today, God, that they would have some validity in what they've gone through, and I pray that your word would help us to be able to heal through our struggles. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so anxious energy. So the anxious energy. Anxious energy, I've talked about it. I've started to identify some of these things in my life and to put a name and a face to them. As I told y'all before, I used to have a terrible problem with nail biting. And I would just bite my nails, and people say, oh yeah, well, people bite their nails because they're nervous, and people bite their nails. Well, I started looking at the clinical terms of this. And I learned that biting your nails is a form of self-harm. That biting your nails is one of the most toxic things that you could do to hurt your body and your form. You're putting all sorts of germs into the body that are not intended to be there. But then also, a lot of times, I'm an extremist. I don't know if you have it. In my compulsions, they're extreme. If I go through a bout of depression, it's extreme. If my anxiety kicks in, it's extreme. Okay, so my nail biting, what did it come? Everyone say? Extreme. I bite them things down when I was biting skin off and seeing blood come out. And I thought I was crazy. Why am I doing that? Because I was dealing with a lot of stuff. People just told me, oh, stop doing that. Stop being like that. Stop. And no one ever asked me what's wrong. Why do you feel like that? I can look at you go through times, and some of you can identify with this about not being able to hold your bladder overnight. And with that, you get scolded for making a mess of the bed, but no one asks you what's wrong. A lot of times we have people, and I'm glad times have changed. I'm glad seasons have changed. I'm glad that we're able to understand that the mind is part of this form, and when you have things that are going on inside that you cannot control, sometimes they manifest in ways to where others don't understand it. People make fun of you and put you down for it. But sometimes people never bother to ask, what's wrong? So I'm speaking today to the person that struggled with anxiety. And maybe they've only been able to share it with the doctor. Maybe they've only been able to share it in times when their rage takes over, or sometimes it manifests in ways to where it embarrasses you. I want you to come out of the closet today. I want you to know that it's part of the human experience. Everyone say human experience. It's not strength or weakness by which the things that you came into contact with. It's not strength or weakness because you had to experience abuse within life. And then your abusers tell you to just shut up. I want you to know it's okay to cry. Because sometimes that's all you can do. Because we live in a world where people put on masks and facades, and sometimes as a church, we put on people that everything can happen through a spiritual transformation. But let me correct you, theologian. Let me correct you, know-it-all, that the human experience is one that we can take a lot of bruises and bumps in life, and the holistic way of dealing with anxiety is, yes, there's got to be an element of prayer. There's got to be an element of believing. There's got to be an element of faith. But there's also got to be an element of acceptance. So to be able to accept it and say, hey, you know what, wow, Pastor, you're talking to me. I'm talking to you because I am you. Remember I said, where am I at? Where Pastor's right there. No, he's not right there. He's right in you. Because all this is a reflection. And that's why we're familia. All right. Introduction. So much crazy going on around us today. Wars, conflicts, persecutions, violence, crimes, natural disasters. Did y'all see the earthquakes this last week? Man, God bless those people that are in the state of California. I mean, to live in that uncertainty of not knowing if, you're going to have an earthquake. And, so terrorism, economic uncertainty, unemployment, divisions, disease, death. We fear our children's future. Anybody ever done that? Your grandchildren's future. Oh, I just worry about my grandchildren in this world that we live in. We fear our safety. We fear our financial future, right? Oh, if you go and you talk to the financial advisor, and if you've not gone and talked to a financial advisor, be prepared to be shocked. Because the financial advisor will tell you if you're in your 40s or your 50s and you haven't intentionally and purposely started saving for your future, you're going to end up in a convalescent home. They really put that fear in you. If you ever gone and talked to an insurance agent, life insurance, oh boy, tell me like, oh yeah, this is okay. Well, the zip code that you live in, you're more likely to have this, and it can just kind of generate like this. I mean, it can start with the nervous energy, but it can end up into fear, and before you know it, all that can pile up, and it can lead out to a full-blown anxiety attack if you don't know what to do with the information, right? The realities of life. So the list goes on and on. There's a lot I could potentially worry you about, but I think I got the idea within your mind. You go and you see the optometrist, right? And what if they, you're going to need bifocals. See, some of you are going to get the bifocal talk. Hey, well, you know what? There is no corrective thing. You're going to have to get these cataracts taken out. And what does that tell you? You're aging. And aging shouldn't be a culprit to anxiety. Amen. Aging is something we should embrace. I'm getting older. But older can be closer to death, or older can be wiser. Older can be like more experienced, more seasoned within life. Walking this earth, with experience, the prospects, that's valuable, young people. Young people, that's valuable. If you make it out of your 20s, that's you make it out of your 30s, your 40s, 50s, you are blessed. And listen, the only conclusion you can come to is like, God, you kept me here so long so I could be a good example to somebody. Amen. You put me out here so long, and I learned all of this wisdom through life, not so that I can be caught up, swept away in my anxiety, but so I could be a messenger of patience, a messenger of it'll be okay, a messenger of everything is going to be all right. Stop worrying yourself about this. Yet reality tells us so much of what we spend our worrying about never even happens, right? Yeah. Most of the stuff that we worry about, it just doesn't happen. Do you know that they were talking about the big earthquake in California in the turn of the century, not the 1900s to 2000, but back in the 1900s, right? That they were talking about that California could be wiped out by this massive earthquake. So you know that there's generations of people that have lived under that fear and it never even happened? There was a fear that, get out of California in the 1900s. Don't move to California because there's an earthquake that's coming and it can take everything out. We can be part of the Pacific Ocean. We're going to become fish food. And California, a lot of things have happened since then, but so fear. First point is fear. And the sub point is living under the cloud of what ifs. Living under the cloud of what ifs. What if I'd have done this? What if I would have done that? What if I would have made a choice to go this route instead of this route? There's people that tell me within their life about pivotal moments that they've gone through. They say, you know, when I met this person, it was the beginning of great joy, peace, you know, a lot of good things came through this relationship within my life. And then what's the other side? The other side could be, well, I met this person, and had I not met this person, I would have never had to experience this amount of suffering. If I would have never come across this person, I would have never had to endure the internal turmoil that I've had to go through. If this person would have never influenced my life. But I want to talk to you in terms of fear, that fear can be positive or negative. Amen?
Amen.
It can be positive or it can be negative. So I want to talk to you about, you know, negative fear, the weight of that fear, the what if type fear, that'll kill you. That'll kill you quick. That'll kill you quicker than whatever it is that you're worrying about.
Right.
Whatever it is, whatever the end is that you're worried about, the actual worry will take you out faster than whatever it is that you're actually worrying will happen, right? Because what does worrying do from a physiological standpoint?
You get sick.
Weakens our arteries, it weakens our heart, creates chemicals within our body that makes us addicted to certain chemicals. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Fear as a chemical, at creating chemical warfare within your body, can make a person think that they need nicotine. Chemical for chemical.
Yeah.
I want to be chemical. I want to see, because that nervousness, that worrying, that fear, it can create a chemical reaction within the body that makes a person want cocaine. That makes a person, listen, I'm not, people that have overcome drugs, I'm getting on other stuff. Overeating. Amen?
Yeah.
The lack of eating, purging, cause bulimia. Just the fear, the negative connotation of fear. How does fear make us look? Everybody say old.
Old.
Listen, you know, I don't want to prematurely look old. So I got to break fear off of my life, amen?
Yeah.
And people putting all sorts of creams and powders and doing all types of facials and laser treatments on it and Botox and all this. You know what? If you would break the spirit of negative fear within your life, you would look youthful. Amen? Amen. There are certain things, there are certain chemicals we put in our body that joins up with our anxiety and our fear. Do you know that, listen, the desire for caffeine, that there's a connection to that and worry and nervousness and fear?
Right.
Get caffeine. Listen, the fear of facing the day without it. You can't tell me that there's a component of that. You get a person without their coffee that feels like that they have to physically have it. Oh, they'll look like a person, you know. You ever seen a person looking for their cigarettes? My mother used to be packed. Where's my cigarettes at? It's the same thing. So let's be real about it. No, listen, I think you should start every day with a room temperature cup of water. Starts the digestive system the right way. There are enzymes that your body makes overnight that collects on your tongue. And if first thing you're taking in is coffee, what are you doing? You're killing the enzyme. Because listen, with coffee, with caffeine particularly, what does caffeine do to the body? It creates a lot of acid. Listen, do your research. What happens to a body that's acidic, acidic environment? There's a lot of things that can live in an acidic environment that are not good. So listen, so we have to look at like, okay, sometimes the thing that we're using to combat our anxiety is what can actually take us out quicker than what we're worried about. You guys get that point? Okay, I'm gonna move. All right, so Ecclesiastes. Okay, so fear, positives and negatives. It can serve or handicap you. Now, how does fear serve you? How does fear serve all of us? Okay, Ecclesiastes, turn there, chapter 12, verse 13. Ecclesiastes, the preacher, he says this: the end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Do you hear what I'm saying? For those of you that have struggled with fear, this is the good type of fear. Everyone say good fear.
Good fear.
The end of the matter, all has been heard, or we say, once it's all been said and done, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So if you took all of your fears, all of your negative fears, and you wrapped it up and you said, I'm going to exchange all of my negative fears for just the fear of God. I'm not going to fear anything else. I'm not going to fear life. I'm not going to fear death. I'm not going to fear something happening. I'm not going to fear what the future is going to be for myself. I'm not going to fear what the future is going to be for someone else. All I'm going to do is I'm going to make fearing God the whole duty of my entire life. If you woke up tomorrow morning with the only responsibility, the first and primary responsibility you have within your life is to fear God only, exclusively, this is the whole duty of my life. Anxiety will be broken within your life. If the whole duty, because you think about it, a lot of times when people struggle with anxiety, they get bogged down by all of these duties and all of these things that they have to do, and it's like, oh, I got all this stuff, and all it can, and listen, and it manifests in an anxiety attack. It manifests in a panic attack. But here's the thing is, how can we overcome it through God's word? Now, I'm not trying to minimize the burden of those that are going through anxiety, but I'm trying to let you know that God's word offers help. Everyone say help. The end of the matter has all been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. I'm not going to worry about anything but keeping the commandments of God. I'm not going to worry about getting a pink slip at my desk, a yellow slip on my door, an envelope with red showing through it in my mail. All of that stuff, all I'm going to do is, my number one fear in life is I'm going to fear God.
Yes.
I'm going to fear God. I'm going to, because if I want to take a negative and turn it into a positive, fearing God is the best entity you could fear. Amen? Listen, it's the only fear that's incentive-based. It's the only fear that is equitable. Every other fear that you spend time investing with, you're getting negative equity in return for it. Negative, everyone say negative equity.
Negative equity.
That's not good. That's it. Listen, if your stockbroker say, yes, I want to tell you that for this fiscal year, you've got negative equity. You better change stockbrokers. You better fire that joke. Hey, listen, why did I get negative? I got negative equity. You ain't doing your job. Negative equity. So when we have these earthly-based fears, okay. So Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both the body and the soul. Let me take this one step further. And do not fear those who can kill the body. Listen, an extension to that. Do not fear people, places, and things that can kill the body. Don't fear any of that stuff. Don't fear an anxiety attack more than you fear letting God down. Did I say? Because if you use fear that way, you're using it in a negative way. I want to use fear in a positive way. You know, I told you. Positives and negatives. It can serve or handicap you. Fear can. A positive fear. I fear God. I fear the Lord. You know, listen, if you fear the Lord, What's the reality of your fear? Well, the reality of my fear is he can kill my body and my soul. See, that's a positive fear. Because it said, the word says, if you keep his commandments and fear him, that's the whole duty of your life. Turn to your neighbor and say, whole duty. That's it. That's all I have to do. So, okay, so even the performance stuff, yes, even the performance stuff. How long should it take for you to get a bachelor's degree? You know what the right answer is? As long as it takes. If you want to take one class a semester, you can take one class a semester. Amen? See, I wish that I would have done it like that. See, to me, you know what school brought on? A massive anxiety attack. I just didn't like that structure of, okay, we do this and you have to pay attention. Listen, if y'all know me from a social level, I like to talk too much to be paying attention. That's not my program. But here's the thing, is if someone would have coached me and said, you know what? Why don't you just break this down a little bit? Can't eat an elephant all within one bite. So why don't you just take a couple of classes each semester and then you'll get through it. You know, we put so much pressure on kids. Well, you're not done with college yet. You still got this. Oh, leave them alone. A lot of these people that are putting pressure on people that haven't finished something, they've not accomplished what they're complaining about. Amen. A lot of people told us, like, oh, I was getting my real estate license. Listen, if you're studying for something or preparing for something, keep it between you, God, and people that understand your value. Amen. You know, don't be just telling people, don't put everything on Facebook. Studying for this, doing it all, because you know what? You're going to get every hater, every troll, every person come out, well, you ain't finished with that yet? I know somebody who did it in 2 weeks. I know somebody who did it in a year. I know so no. So all of those voices, I learned at a young age, oh, I'll never do that again. Because they created so much, their nervous energy came from a fear that was based on, it was a negative fear. And what did it do? It started to aggravate the demons inside of me, right? Their demons started talking to my demons. They ganged up on me, right? Amen. That's how self-sabotage happens. You think it's all self. No, it's something in the spirit that's happening. Everybody, negative demon jumping on your negative demons, and they decide to have a party, and you gave up. How do we bust anxiety? Don't fear persons, places, or things that can kill the body. How can a person that's facing death, getting ready to face a firing squad, have peace? They don't fear persons, places, or things. Why was Stephen able to keep preaching the word to those people that were getting ready to take his life? Because he did not fear persons, places, or things. This doesn't happen overnight. Everyone say it's a process. The more that you trust God, the more that the negative fear will dissolve within your life. Positive fear. Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of instruction, or the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. See, if this is true in the positive, what's also true in the reverse? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. So, if fools despise wisdom and instruction, which actually makes you a wise person, what do they also despise? They despise the fear of the Lord. They despise good fear, and they gravitate, they are magnetically drawn to negative fear. I know when we're dealing with church groups, who has not dealt with the spirit of fear in their life? You know why? Because someone will give an idea. And that person with the spirit of fear, they'll try to say, well, I got 10 reasons why you can't do that. Because that could be dangerous. Hey, because if we do that, we could fail. We might get sued. That's that. Listen, 3 other churches have tried that. And it doesn't work. Listen. The spirit of fear is not like a big old devil monster like on, from Hollywood film looking like something crazy. The spirit of fear is beautiful. It's calming. It's accommodating. It gets your mind off of the victory. You get your mind on the process and how things are not going to work. But I want to tell you, that can only handicap you.
That's right.
That can only handicap you. Listen, if David would have allowed the spirit of fear to take over him, if the demons of the people in the world at that time, they were saying like, he's just a ruddy little boy. If that would have manifested, if those demons would have connected with the demons that was tormenting David at that time, and David just said, well, you know what? Maybe they're right. And see, this process is happening with people that cannot get over the negative spirit of fear. See, when you're dealing with it in a negative way, it's going to be hard for you because, listen, because fear can present itself in a righteous way, can't it?
Yeah.
Fear can sound very wise at times, right? Because fear can sound so cautious. It can sound so safe. But do you think God put you on this earth to live a safe and cautious life? Listen, if you did that, you would have never learned how to ride a bike. Why? Because you would have fell down. And when you fall down, you could bust your head wide open. You ever hear people talk in terms of that? Like, well, you get on that thing, you bust your head wide open. Yeah. Well, I've never seen in my entire life someone bust their entire head wide open. I've never seen it. But people, they say it like that because someone put that on them, and that is the negativity that comes with the spirit of fear. Just the spirit of fear. People that are, listen, you got to be able to recognize the spirit of fear within you. Sometimes we say, well, it's just nervous energy. No, it's just the spirit of fear. Stop lying. Well, I just like to get things right. I just get real. No, it's the spirit of fear. You know what fear don't like? Everyone say preparation. Oh, fear loves chaos. Because when everything is chaotic, then it's okay for you to exhibit the spirit of fear. But once you start getting things organized, once you start getting things in order, then you have a healthy fear of thinking, listen, of having foresight. Everyone say foresight. See, foresight is not worrying. Foresight is like, you know what? I should set up automatic payment for my utility bills because we're always going to have utilities, so we have to pay that automatically. Amen? So you need to do automatic withdrawal so you can develop an emergency savings account. And you're just like, oh, well, I don't know. I would never be able to save money. And the spirit of fear has gotten you to think you can't save. But then here's the thing. We've got technology today. All you have to do is go in there and say, okay, take $175 from my checking account every month. It'll do it. And there's an incentive because they want you to, but you can build up your savings and you can block the spirit of fear because sometimes we get bogged down by what the duties. But what is our one duty that we've got to replace the spirit of fear with? The one duty is fear God and to follow His instructions. That's the only fear that you have. It's satanic to be in chaos. Because when you have chaos, then the spirit of fear, anxiety can happen. We can get all out of control. We can start manifesting the wrong things, right?
Yeah.
So the spirit, I don't want the spirit of fear.
Right. Yeah.
So nervous energy. Some people just say, well, I just have a nervous energy. Yeah, but not everybody deals with nervous energy the same way. Now remember, how I dealt with it, I always kind of looked at like, oh, I'm just being weak. Well, it wasn't weakness. Certain things were piling up within my life. Certain things were happening within my life that I wasn't dealing with head on. So a lot of times anxiety is the buildup of something, right? But what is 2 Timothy 1:7 say? For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but a power of love and of sound mind. For God has not given us the spirit of fear. Now some of you might be thinking, well, that's a contradictory statement. You just said, fear God. But I also start out telling you, there's context in words. Fear can be negative, or fear can be positive. So the negative connotation is God has not given us the spirit of fear.
Amen.
How does the spirit of fear manifest within your life? I told you with mine. I was on I-10 freeway, full-on panic and anxiety attack. Nervous, scared, crying. And listen, remember, and for those of you, you got to watch the message. If you didn't catch it again, you got to watch it. Is what I do with the staff that was at the hospital. I just lied to them. What's going on within your life? Because this normally doesn't happen. Oh, nothing. I don't know. I was just probably driving too much. It wasn't that. But you know what? From that panic attack and just being in denial, you know what it cost me? Like over a decade of just not dealing with it. You know, I was just like, oh, I'm not going to drive long distances no more. Just to pacify myself. But the real issue was I had to learn how to deal with my anxiety. Will you stand with me? God has not given us the spirit of fear. Everyone say negative fear.
Negative fear.
Negative fear. Negative fear. He's given us the spirit of power. Okay? So listen. Of power, what does that mean? That means that like, well, so I can be powerful. So I don't have to succumb to that being weak and dealing with it. No, don't look at fear as like the spirit of fear, like, you know, you're weak because you're experiencing a spirit of fear. No, a lot of times we have to be gentle with ourselves and recognize that maybe we've been damaged. Maybe the fear is coming from not knowing how to deal with offenses and not knowing how to confront certain things within our lives. We don't know how to confront certain things within our lives. We become victim to it. When we become victim to something, then we go back to that same playbook every time. Waking up, the spirit of fear. How am I going to face the day without my coffee? Recognize it. Recognize it. And listen, y'all need to watch the entire sermon. Because I'm telling you, it's a spiritual. Listen, I used to be, now, y'all have 5-hour energy. We didn't have 5-hour energy back then, but when I started, I used to drink Red Bull. I drank that Red Bull. Oh, I have energy now. No, no, you're not dealing with it. You're not dealing with the spirit of fear. That's what I was, that, you know, everyone needs some energy. No. You know what everybody needs to do? Everybody needs to take care of their human form. A lot of this fear was based off of me staying up too late at night, you know, eating all sorts of things that made me want to stay up later at night, make my sleep all messed up. I'd be eating candy bars and drinking soda and stuff, and then be like, "Whoa, I wake up, oh, I'm so tired. Give me my Red Bull." What's it doing? It's just a chemical that's tearing down my heart, that's tearing down my organs, that's creating an environment of acidity within my body. And that environment of acidity within my body, from a minimal standpoint, was creating things like acid reflux. But there's things, I'll talk to you about it. I've done a lot of research on this. Fatal situations can come when we have too much of this acid within our body. Too much sugar. You know, drinking sugary drinks. You know, what did we do? Oh, I like the kick that comes from it. You need to start, you need to start liking the refreshment that comes from water. You don't, listen, the only thing you might see me drink occasionally is a green tea. And that's only at board meetings. I drink a green tea. But I don't drink anything but water. Why? Because I know I deal with anxiety. I know I've had a panic attack. I know I deal with the spirit of fear. But if I do all the wrong things in my physical form, you know what's going to happen? It's going to manifest. And I'm going to be blaming other things, but what did I do in preparation? I eat the wrong things. I was not taking care of my body. I thought that exercising was going out to the gym and lifting a bunch of weights, and it wasn't that, because listen, I had the gym membership for years, and I couldn't lose a lick of weight. Why? Because of the spirit of fear. I couldn't detach from the foods that I thought that I loved. I thought everything came in a wrapper. So I was eating processed everything. Listen, when you eat stuff in a wrapper, 90 days, about how old it is before it comes to your. I like fresh stuff. I like vegetables. I like fruits. I don't give myself. But see, here's the thing. I suffered with that. I was eating my nails down. You're just eating them, putting all that negative stuff within my body. But here's the thing. Now, listen, drinking too much water can be bad, but not as damaging as biting your nails. But most of the time, you see me with water. You'll see me with my flask. So now, whenever I want to do it, I drink me a thing of water, and it gets me out. But here's the thing. What if you took this week and said, God, you are strong enough, you're powerful enough, you're big enough. And I'm just going to exercise my faith in certain areas where my fear is dominating. So I'm not going to point them out. You know what they are. You know what your anxieties are. You know what your crutches are. But if it's being fueled by that negative fear, you got to let it go. Because what is the entire duty of man? And to keep his commandments. See, if you've taken care of that, everything else will take care of itself. Everything else will take care of itself. If I'm fearing you, God, and I'm following your commandments, everything is going to be all right. Repeat after me. Lord, remove the spirit of fear from me. You know how powerful your words are? Now listen. You didn't say, oh dear Lord, I don't know what it is. You weren't all out of control. You were conscious. You were calm. And you asked the Lord to help you with something. You know what the Lord does when we ask Him? He hears us. So I need help with this. See, as a church, we need help with this. As a leadership, we need help. Because as we grow beyond this, serving God can be so much more fun. Listen, remember when you were nervous and when you first learned how to drive, you were so nervous? You looked like a little nervous. Nervous stiff. But man, once you started getting adjusted to it, shoulders loose, you push that seat back a little bit, you look out the window, I first started driving looking like this. But see, here's the thing, is we can be white knuckling it and gripping the wheel of life if we have the negative spirit of fear. We have the positive fear of serving God and only being concerned with following His commandments. Then you can be living life.
Amen.
Be all uptight no more. Don't walk around. And be good with this. Listen, when you make the spirit, when you evict the spirit of fear from your mental and spiritual home, when you put that eviction notice on the spirit of fear, you can be so much supportive of others.
Amen.
You won't be that negative friend that's always coming up with something like, oh, so you're doing this? Oh, well, this is why it ain't going to work. That's a friend with the spirit of fear. I don't listen. Now I know what it is. I don't take it personal. Because I know I have friends like that. Sometimes I do stuff to just mess with them. Say like, hey, I got a great idea. Like, why are you calling me with the great ideas? Because I know your fear motivates me. So I want to know how it can't be done. Because you will likely tell me how it can't be done. That's how you make your haters your motivators. Don't evict them, evict the spirit of fear. I will make my haters my motivators. You're going through a human condition that's making you exhibit the spirit of fear, and you want to project this over my life. You want to project it, but I'm saying rejection. And I'm like, hey man, I already know what that is. I already know what you want. I'm gonna let you keep the spirit of fear. Listen, we're team faith here. You keep the spirit of fear, we're team faith here. Only thing I'm fearing is the Lord, and I'm a fear not following His commandments.
That's right.
That's what I'm going to fear. That's what you ought to fear. Stop worrying about other people. Yeah, I just want to say this. I'm talking to someone. Some of you have made someone else's crisis your own. Listen, I'm speaking to you. I want you to withdraw. I want you to abstain. Someone's going to experience this week. Someone's going to try and drag you into their chaos. See, listen, you'll be, the metaphor is this: you're going to be chilling on the beach. Hey, come on out here with me. You're chilling on the beach. It's 75 degrees. You're in a good spot. But then now you with this person, and they're taking you, and you're looking out like, man, where are we at? And you're out there, you can't even see the beach no more. You're out in all the, like, man, I'm just in a drown with you. So you need to withdraw.
Amen.
Listen, I don't care who it is.
Amen.
I don't care who it is. Now I'm talking forceful aggressively. Because some of you, but Pastor, you don't know, that's my granddaughter, that's my child, that's my daughter, that's my son, that's my boyfriend, that's my man. No, stop. It don't matter who it is.
Right.
It could be your own mama. I don't care who it is, your grandma, whoever it is. Withdraw, detach from that. Detach from it.
Yes.
No, I'm not going to people. They hate somebody, they want you to hate them. Stop. No, I'm going to detach from that. No. Because they never do nothing. No, I'm not going to do that. I reckon that's the spirit of fear within you. I heard this message on Facebook. I was at church and then I heard this message about it. And that he gave us indications to know when we're dealing with the spirit of fear. And see, when you recognize it in others, don't let those people influence you. Right? They have a spirit of fear. You know, it's crazy out there driving. I wait to get my driver's license. Don't be exhibiting your spirit of fear over them. Maybe it's the right time for them. Well, I wouldn't do that now. So that's all I had to say. So we started out crying and we ended up laughing.
Amen.
That's a complete day. Hey, hug somebody. Shake somebody's hand. Let them know that they can make it. Let them know that the spirit of fear will not do damage over them this week. They can overcome. You can overcome. I overcame. I'm here today. Grace in the presence of the Lord. May God bless you. 11:30 service. Hey, for everybody that's wanting to train for the 5K, if you want to do 5K training tonight,